And we are live, Dawn here with Romance Happy Hour. I am, of course, joined by the amazing Dylann Crush in her
Hello.
pink hair. I love that.
No, I'm pink
It's
tonight.
yeah, it's kind of reminding me of Grease a little bit. Like you're
Ooh,
yeah,
yeah.
like
My husband was
beautiful
saying
Jessica.
the little girl from Lazy Town. So
Ooh.
I like which I was like, oh no. I like the Grease reference better.
Yeah, yeah.
And
No.
she, yeah,
Yeah, Frenchie. Or
dating myself.
I mean it's pink, but if it was blue, if you got like a really blue one, you could be
Hmm.
like Kick-Ass, like the girl from Kick-Ass. Like she's like a superhero girl.
I don't know that one either.
Oh my god, you gotta watch that movie.
All right.
Okay. It's awesome though.
Right.
I love
Okay,
it.
Dawn.
I love that hair. All right, Dylann. So what are you working on? Our ever busy, busy woman.
Yeah. Well, first, I want to say we're here with Tricia Andersen and Debbie Burns. So
Yes.
yay, welcome. We're super excited to have you with us. And I've been busy. I had my last chemo treatment last Friday, so yay. So that has been keeping me busy, um and then I've been working on my alter ego that is not a secret anymore because we came out with that. So I have an Eve book that comes out next week, and then another Eve book that comes out the week after. And Casey Rose and I are launching our Kickstarter for the last four books in the Mustang Mountain series. That those books were out last year, so it'll be the September through December books that we are finally getting done. Those are the ones that we wrote. I wrote as Eve and Dylan.
Mhm.
So yeah, so lots going on. And also, oh yeah, it's like, Mother's Day and high school graduation. I have a senior this year, and I just finished moving my oldest home from college today. So it's like 'tis the season
Yeah, I was gonna say
for
you got a
busyness.
college girl
Yeah,
coming home.
I know. So yeah, so
Yeah,
it's been really busy.
yeah.
So how about you, Don? What are you
Um,
working on?
I I'm still working on my American historical,
Mhm.
and I just got invited to um the book signing in
Oh,
Billings.
awesome. Yay.
So I am working with my husband on trying to figure out the logistics for that so I
Mhm.
can try to go to that one.
Very cool.
Um, and then I also have a senior and she
Mhm.
graduates in 2 years, 2 weeks. I've been up since like
I know.
5 a.m. like
I
working
know.
in my
I know.
yard, trying to get it ready for graduation actually. I'm like
Ah, yes.
and my garden. Finally, we have some nice weather here in Montana.
Mhm.
It has been in the 30s for the last couple days, and today it's in the high 60s. So that's,
Yay.
the amazing weather of Montana. Yellowstone is in town, and they're sending out emails for, do you want to come be an extra? So that's just kind of what I've been doing. So yeah, it's busy. It's a busy month.
Mhm. It is. Yep.
Yeah. And then I have the Spartan race coming up in June.
Okay.
So I'm
Mm.
training for that with my boys. So I'm
Gosh.
making my kids run
Mhm.
it too.
That sounds awful.
I know. It's amazing pain with lots of fun, and they give you free beer at the end. So
I would rather just go buy beer than run a Spartan race to get beer. But I don't
yeah.
know. I want to see if Debbie and Trisha agree with me on that.
Yeah.
100%. 1000%, yes.
Sorry, Don.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I could
it's
walk
all
it.
right. Yeah, no, I'm probably gonna walk it. I actually found out I have arthritis in my knees. My doctors told me I'm getting old. So every once in a while it flares up and I can't walk. And so I'm
Oh,
going to PT to try to like
oh
get my
gosh.
knee
I tell you,
all strong for the Spartan race. I'm probably gonna end up walking it. Just so
getting
you know.
older, I don't know.
No.
There's a lot of things. I always thought, like, I don't know everybody here is a mom, but when mothers use this again so appropriately, but there's a lot of things they don't tell you about, being pregnant and giving birth until you're like, it's too late to turn back. And I feel it's the
Mhm.
same as you get older. There's like certain
Yeah.
things people know that they don't tell you about until
No.
it's too late.
Until your doctor says, you're just getting old, and you just like
Yeah,
think, I
exactly.
just want to punch you in the face. Thank
Exactly.
you. Yeah. Yep. So Debbie and Tricia, thank you so much for joining us today. We're gonna hear from Debbie first. So Debbie, why don't you tell us what you're giving away, what you're working on? Kind of introduce yourself to our viewers.
Hi, I'm Debbie. I have written 7 books in a Rescue Me series. Almost all of my books that are out are heartwarming romance for dog lovers. So that's just a good summary of what I write. I'm going to read a scene today that's from a new book that comes out not till this fall. And it's actually called Home is Where Your Bark Is. And there's a cute little border collie on front.
Super
And it's
cute.
about it is about a 6-time surrendered dog that they end up calling 7. He's a border collie. He's been through the shelter so many times. And Jenna, the heroine, she has her sister has been the one that adopted him this 6th most recent time. And she has 2 boys, 4 and under. And it's just been chaotic in the house. And the sister is struggling with like a potential breast cancer diagnosis. And she asked Jenna, the sister, to take the dog back to the shelter. Jenna ends up, it's not her dog. She's doing a favor for her sister. And she ends up getting in a car accident on the way to the shelter. And a handsome stranger steps in, helps, and takes the dog for the night. And she's trying to ask him to take back the dog to the shelter. And the next day they meet up, and that's the scene that I'm going to read.
Ooh,
Fun.
So,
yes.
would you like me to start? Or
Well, not yet.
we're going
Not quite yet.
Okay.
Not quite yet. Well, we're going to hear from Tricia first.
Yes.
So Tricia, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you write, and all that good stuff.
Well, I am I just say I'm a romance author because I hit just about every genre. I primarily focus in fighter romance, but contemporary, historical, paranormal, Greek god, billionaire, you name it, I probably write it. So I'm all across the board. And today I plan on reading, and I don't have a paperback because I haven't gotten my order in yet. But I'm not anywhere near the scene.
I know it's all backwards, so you got to be careful when you.
She grabbed it with the other hand.
Yeah.
It's called Thistle Tattoo. It was originally an excerpt for an anthology for the Writers on the River convention in Peoria in July, and this was back during COVID. And I expanded on it, and it's about an Army vet who has come back from the war, and he's dealing with PTSD, and he is unfortunately about to take his life. And he's interrupted by his high school best friend, who at this point is a purple-haired tattoo artist who has just come back home to their small town. And she convinces him to come live with her, just so she can try to stop him from doing what he wants to do to himself. And a romance ensues, but there's an ex-girlfriend and a guy who's
So I saw your profile picture, and it looks very like you're a fighter. Do you also box?
used to.
You used
Yeah.
to. Okay.
When I started writing, I decided I wanted to do a book. When I was first published, got my first contract. That was an unrelated book, but I decided I kind of wanted to do a book kind of as a thank you, kind of to give back, whatever. And I needed a type of physical fitness sport that was kind of looked down on, and kind of went through them like professional wrestling. I got to MMA and thought, oh, all right, my hero will be involved in MMA, but I know nothing. And so I went on Google and looked up MMA gyms and found one, the top one. I sent in an email and said, hey, could you answer some questions? And the owner emails me back and says, sure. And while I'm waiting, I see that they offer kickboxing. I always wanted to try kickboxing. So I conned my husband into letting me try a month. And up until the pandemic, I was like 5 days a week. So I went from kickboxing to jujitsu, and my bio does say that I've done everything but get in the cage. I walked people to the cage. I've trained people getting ready for the cage. I've gone through fight camps, which are horrendous. Yeah. And then I actually competed in one jujitsu tournament.
Wow.
Oh,
That sounds a lot more challenging than the Spartan race. I don't know.
yes. Very
Up
much
until
so.
fight camp. Fight camp is not fun. It's salads for 8 weeks. No, it wasn't.
Does not sound fun at all.
No, it was horrible.
I did like I had like a free 3-day trial at a kickboxing gym. And so I did like a like little things, but other than that, I took like what was his name? Billy something, like the Taibo.
Oh, Billy
Yeah.
Blanks.
Yeah, Billy
Yep,
Blanks. I did
yep.
like the Billy Blanks Taibo, and that's the
The
closest I've ever done.
infomercials for, yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
God, we are really, I feel like we're really dating ourselves tonight.
I think so.
I used to do aerobics to Gilead. Remember him?
Oh, funny. My mom was huge into what's his name?
Jazzercise.
Nope, with the hair and the guy.
Richard
Richard
Simmons.
Simmons.
Richard Simmons. He was so
Yeah.
big. She every day growing up, she was Richard Simmonsing it up. So this year for her birthday, a couple months ago, my sister sent her a Richard Simmons DVD.
Oh, funny.
And then a week later, she sent her husband a little pair of red shorts so he could help her out with the Richard Simmons DVD. And I'm just like, I love my sister.
No.
Yeah. That's
That
the
is
kind of
awesome.
sisters I have.
On that note, Dawn.
Yeah. All right, Debbie, would you
All
like
right.
to read for us?
Okay,
How do you
I'm gonna
follow up
start-
Richard Simmons?
Yeah. And follow Richard Simmons.
Yes, no aerobics here. Okay, I'm starting a few chapters in. Like I said, Jenna has spent the night in the hospital after a car accident, and Jake has taken the dog, and she thinks he's taken the dog to a shelter, and so that's where the scene starts. Jenna's heart fluttered. Should she be doing this, getting a ride with a total stranger when she didn't have her cell phone? Probably not, but instinct told her it was okay. Jake wasn't a creep. He was the kind of guy who waited in the rain with a stranger and took responsibility for a dog because he'd been asked to. 5 minutes later, Jenna was being wheeled outside the hospital into the chilly, bright March day. As Jake stepped out the Subaru Forester to greet her, it occurred to her that the wheelchair had likely saved her from stumbling over her own 2 feet. Her patchy memory of last night hadn't done him justice. He was ogle out of the corner of your eye cute, tall and lean with strong shoulders, dark brown, almost black hair that was a touch messed at the top, something between a short beard and a 5 o'clock shadow lining his cheeks and jaw, and one of the kindest smiles she'd seen. As a gust of wind swept in, the tech wasted no time retreating into the hospital while Jenna clutched an overstuffed hospital bag. Wow, I guess that cold front really moved through, huh? The lake wind was as invigorating as a cup of coffee. Jake agreed and motioned toward her. You look great, considering what you went through. Thanks. Jenna lifted her bag. Given the blood stains on these, I have a better sense of how I must have looked last night. You gave me a scare, that's for sure. Jake jogged over to the car and opened the front passenger door. I'll crank up the heat in a second. Jenna froze in place as she spotted what was in the back seat. Not what, who, the dog. Yeah, about that. Jake dragged a hand through his hair sheepishly. I figure it was better to tell you in person. I figured you would have taken him already. I'm so sorry. It's not your fault. I tried. I just couldn't do it. You never should have had to. I never should have asked you. Honestly, everything was so hazy after I got here. I wasn't even sure I had. The dog was staring at her through the side window and wagged his tail in recognition. Jenna stepped closer to the rear passenger door and leaned down to see him better. I've been worried about him. My guess is he's no worse for the wear thanks to that seatbelt. Thank goodness. I'm sorry for all of it. If it helps, I haven't done anything for anyone in a long time that I wasn't committed to doing. I wanted to take him last night. It helps, Jenna said with a nod. My sister, it ended up being a pretty terrible month for her. The dog aside, she's got 2 kids 4 and under. I don't know what she was thinking adopting him. Actually, I do. She thought he'd help get some energy out of the boys, but things went the opposite direction. A short laugh escaped him at this last part. a little over 12 hours in, and I can see where that could happen. If you don't mind me asking, what happened with taking him in last night? The timing wasn't right. I didn't even try. Then this morning I showed up and I couldn't get out of the car. He lifted an eyebrow. I talked to one of the staff there, though. Nothing's official, but I guess I'm fostering him for a while, given your sister's okay with it, until he enters through their shelter doors and the paperwork is signed. Technically, he belongs to her. Wow, that's wonderful. The exclamation sent pain shooting through her head, and she toned it down a few notches. I don't see how my sister could be anything less than ecstatic. That's good, I guess. A sheepish smile lit his face, showing a set of great teeth. Between me and you, I'm kind of freaking out about the decision. It's a big decision, I can see why. Jenna thought back to the scratches across her sister's expensive table. She was still standing outside the open door, but Jake waved her in and waited, closing it behind her, a gesture she didn't need but appreciated all the same. As he headed around the front of the car, she turned to look at the dog. Hey, boy. He was eyeing her intently. It happened so fast she almost missed it, but he flicked his tail in response. She wanted to reach back and sink her hand in that furry coat, but knew he wouldn't appreciate it. He endured petting with a similar dislike to a dog on a table at the vet's office about to get its shots. I so owe you the biggest bully stick in the world, you know that? I'm so sorry I didn't see that car coming. Thank God you're okay. Jake sat down and started the car. Jenna was reminded that the last time she'd been this close to him, she'd been holding his hand. He pulled up his Maps app. Want to give me your address so you don't have to navigate? Sure. Jenna spouted it off, and Jake's eyebrows lifted. Seriously? Lifted. Seriously, you're in Logan Square? You're like a mile or two from me, tops. I never would have guessed that last night, considering we were halfway across town when we met. I was coming from my sister's and heading to the shelter. With the doors closed, Jenna could smell equal parts leather and pine coming up Jake, blended with a touch of nervous dog floating up from the back seat. And thanks for picking me up for last night. I guess I should be more sorry about what you're taking on, but I'm not sorry for him, that's for sure. He hates crates. A shelter kennel wouldn't have been much better. A hint of a frown formed as Jake headed out of Hospital Drive. That doesn't bode well for my apartment if I can't crate him when I'm gone. Last night, he got a leg of my coffee table while I was in the shower and a shoe while right in front of me. Jenna bit her lip. Maybe in this case, it's better for the honeymoon to end before it really begins. He's got what it takes to be a good dog, though. I'm sure of it. He's great with little kids. Super smart, too. If there's any help you need, I'm happy to. I mean it. Any reason you didn't want to take him then, when your sister couldn't? Several. Meeting his gaze, Jenna gave a little shrug. First, it was a sister thing. At least a my sister thing. I tried to dissuade her from adopting such a high-energy dog in the first place, as chaotic as her life is. And I step in more than I should most of the time anyway. On top of that, I sort of have 2 jobs I'm juggling. I don't have time for a dog, unless it's a couch potato. What do you mean by that? You sort of have 2 jobs. Jenna shrugged. I have one that pays the bills, that I could do without, and one that I'd love to see pay more of the bills than it does. Jake lifted a finger off the steering wheel. Let me guess. You're a writer. Not even close, Jenna said with a laugh. And why a writer? I don't know. Seems like everybody's a writer these days. So, Jake cocked an eyebrow. You going to tell me, or do I have to guess? Jenna smiled. You most certainly have to guess now. Why is that? Because you're so sure of yourself. Jake made a stabbing motion toward his chest, grinning, ouch. In a good way. She brushed her fingers over his wrist, confident but not conceited, at least judging by first impressions. Thank you, though now I feel pressure to get the next guess right. Not on my end. He narrowed his gaze. How about a food artist of some sort? What's the end thing lately? Boozy cakes? Jenna laughed. Definitely not. I love to cook, but hardly ever bake, and no, my side gig has nothing to do with food or booze. But you do make something. Depends on your definition of make. Candles? Nope. Stained glass? That's a jump, but no. A glance at his phone showed they had 16 minutes until they reached her place. Tell you what, if you haven't guessed by the time we get to my place, I'll show you. In the back seat, the dog let out a single woof that pierced the air. If you think he needs a break from the car, you can get out with him at my place. Sure, as long as you don't mind. Jenna shrugged. Sure thing. He's been there before with my sister and the boys. Mostly he stayed outside in the yard and ran around in the snow. Jake glanced her way. I thought you said you lived in an apartment. Technically, my place is in a 100-and-something-year-old house. The owners live on the bottom floor. The top floor was split in two during the Depression. I share it with a resident cardiologist at Rush who pretty much only comes home to sleep. My favorite thing about where I live is the yard out back, and it's proved to be of no interest to anyone but me. Any chance that yard is fenced? Jenna nodded. It's no Lincoln Park, but yeah, it's adequately sized and adequately fenced. How tall is that fence? Because I hear he's a jumper. 6 feet, I guess, your typical privacy fence. Jake shook his head and a smile played on his lips. A minute or so ago, when you said if there's anything you could do. Yeah? I'm in a second-story condo of a building with a backyard that's been converted to garages and a handful of stone patios for the residents. There's no fence and not a blade of grass anywhere. You're welcome to use my yard, but what for? I need a place to work him that's free of other dogs for now. You're a mile or so away. You've got a fenced-in yard. What more could I ask for? Suddenly, Jenna's world seemed to be lining up in a very unexpected way. She glanced back at the dog to find that his full attention was still honed in on them. Dog, it seems this is your lucky day in more ways than one. Jake lifted an eyebrow. Maybe the best thing about all of this is it'll give me a chance to get to know you better. And Jenna figured maybe, just maybe, it was her lucky day too. And that's the end of the scene.
Sorry, I'm just unmuting everybody. There we go.
Nice.
Yeah, love it. I love dog books. Dogs are so much fun. Is he a mischievous dog or a good dog?
He is a very high energy dog and a little mischievous, but mostly misunderstood and high energy.
Well, and those dogs are super smart too.
Yeah.
Aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. That's so sad though. As soon as you said he's like already been, like rescued 6 times, and it's like, oh, it's one of those dogs. So yeah, you can't take him back again.
Some of them are fast. His history comes out. Some of them are quick ones, but then there's some of them that are harder. And
yeah,
I have to tell you, there's a Hia there for the dog as well, obviously.
Yeah.
So
good.
I think almost all of your books, or is there the one that's more women's fiction? Does that one have a dog that is
There's
central
a
to
dog in it, but not
Okay.
like these. Yeah.
Okay.
But this one was set in Chicago and it's a standalone. So that was nice. It was fun to write, different than the series, which it stretched on for 7 books, which was fun. But it was also fun to write something outside the series. So
Right. Yep.
Now,
Yep.
the viewers didn't see this, but we did prior to us going live. Your dog in the background chewing on a bone. So, do you decide to write dog books because you just love yours so much, or how did you decide to write?
I had volunteered in a shelter at one point, and I just thought it would be fun to set that first Rescue Me series book is about just kind of an enemies to lover, where you have someone surrendering a dog and a person working in a shelter and they get in an argument. And I thought it would be fun to write that enemies to lovers romance in a shelter and have an animal shelter setting. And then I contracted with Source Books, and they wanted it to be a 3-book series. And then I thought, well, yeah, I can write 2 more books, hopefully in a shelter. And then it was going well. So they wanted it to be a 6-book series. And then it became a 7-book series. And it was supposed to be an 8-book series. But by that point, I just really needed to write a different setting. And I so this is just a single, like there's a dog in it, but it's not set in a shelter. So yeah. And it was just a new city, and it was just it was just refreshing to write a little different.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So the inspiration for the dogs that you write, are they inspired by, because I know that you have dogs, plural.
Yes. Well, honestly, the dog in this one, I had a border collie. She died last year, and I was writing the book when she was really failing. And so I would say, but it was her, like, kind of processing all of that, but thinking of her in her younger days, just how high energy was and how exhausting she was, and being a mother of young kids. And so she's kind of who inspired this dog, although I will say we adopted her as a puppy and didn't give her up. And then this particular dog gets surrendered, and then it just kind of keeps going for a while, and then obviously it works out for him.
Yes.
But you won't know how it works out for him.
Mm.
So you
Well,
read.
and we have to wait quite a while to find out now too. Thanks, Debbie.
Yes,
Yeah.
I know, but it's up for pre-order. But I would say there's a lot of great, if you like dogs and romance, you know.
But
there's
this makes your statement just now makes me wonder though. You say you don't know how it works out for him. So
oh no. You don't know. I know how, because I'm
no,
done.
no, we don't know. Clearly. No, that's what I meant. Like we don't know how it works out for him. So does he not end up with the heroine of the book? And I'm talking dog hair, not the hero.
She can't give it all away, Dawn. It's a romance.
Wow.
It's
Oh
Oh my
a
god, it's a
thing.
romance.
If he didn't end up with the person who's fostering him, you would be mad, I'm sure. That would
Yes.
give it away totally.
Oh my
Of course,
gosh.
it has a
Oh my
happy
gosh.
ending.
Yeah, there's a happy end,
Mm.
yes.
Okay.
No, But
She's
yeah,
really
don't
being
make her like ruin it
No,
all. There's
I'm
got to
not
be some
making her.
surprises.
There has to be, and clearly she's like building the suspense here because now we're like, where does the dog end up?
Well, something big happens kind of midway through. Something really big happens
Okay.
that tests all three of them.
Ah,
Yeah,
okay.
so it kind of puts them all to the test. The developing relationship between the guy and the girl, and the dog's relationship with the guy.
Oh,
And it involves the St. Patty's Day parade in Chicago,
Ooh,
oh my gosh,
and possibly
this
Louis
is getting
some of
better.
that.
and did you go to the St. Patrick's Day parade to do research?
I was in Chicago, not during the St. Patty's Day parade, but I had not the one in the city, but the one out in the South Side, where
Okay.
it's kind of like the smaller residential one. But there's one in St. Louis that's a lot like that, and I had a friend
Mhm.
living up there who went for me.
Oh,
Okay.
My timing didn't work well, but yes,
Oh.
I've been to Chicago several times. Love it.
Mhm.
Love the city.
So was she like giving you a play-by-play while it was going on, or did she just give you like a
No, but
debrief
she took
later?
pictures, and then I like was able to like totally map out where they walked and
Mhm.
things like that.
Fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get everything on Google Maps.
I know.
Yes.
But and
Thank
then some of the
goodness.
areas, we actually didn't go there when I was up there recently, but almost all the areas, the towns and stuff in the book I've been to.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
how authors did it before YouTube and Google Maps. And I mean, can you imagine going to the library and looking things up in the card catalog and like scanning stuff on microfiche to find out, like
Yeah.
what was this
Yeah.
about? And I
Yeah.
feel like we're a
Well,
little
I feel like,
spoiled.
but I also feel like even then, a lot of times they get it wrong. Like luckily for me, like every time we would drive cross country, I honestly would sit there with a pen and paper, like, okay, like Indiana is flat and like
good idea.
so I
But not
don't
all
actually put a mountain there.
Not all parts of Indiana are
And
flat.
not all parts, no.
And they actually
But
have sand dunes,
yeah.
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 But yeah, I think it's a good time to be an author because of all the information that's just right at our fingertips. But
Absolutely.
we don't have to write exactly what we know anymore because we can learn a lot of things online.
But let me ask for a show of hands here. Like who has gone to the library for information though? For a book? Am I
Well,
the only one?
like for a book, yeah, like for research or something.
Research. Yeah,
Yeah.
research. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just can't
But
get
we
rid of
didn't have to, like
libraries.
pay 10 cents per page to print off old newspaper articles and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
and there's a lot you can find, at home on Google
Mhm.
too. But yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yep. So what is the strangest piece of research that you have had to do? Or the strangest thing that you've had to look up for research? And remember, this is PG-13. I saw
what about-
Tricia's eyes light up. I'm like, PG-13,
Yeah.
ladies.
She's gonna ask you
You know
next.
what's
Mine's
funny about that is how
PG-13,
everything your advertisement change after you look everything up. A lot of times I get a lot of engagement ring. I'm like, no, this is I would say what's coming a lot about an underwater diver in my 7th Rescue Me book, which is my most recent release, was up in the Lake Michigan area, and the male protagonist was an underwater diver who had had an accident underwater. So just a lot about tragic accidents underwater for
Okay.
underwater divers.
Interesting.
Yeah.
How about you, Tricia?
Mine, chemical compounds that liquefy human organs.
Okay. See, I was gonna say, oh, Debbie, so the FBI is not looking for you, but they're definitely looking for you, Tricia. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, there isn't any. I had to invent one.
Yeah.
But
So
yes.
Breaking Bad, that's not. Oh,
Gotcha.
that acid in Breaking Bad didn't work.
No, had to
I know,
make it
that's
up.
exactly what I was thinking. But in all those barrels, they would just put the people in them, and then magically they would disappear.
I should reiterate, liquefy from inside out, not outside
okay.
in. So they are injected and then their organs, and that's how they die.
And there
In a
wasn't
book,
any.
it's in one of my
Right.
books.
Okay, so are you reading from that book tonight?
No.
Okay, so this isn't going to give anything away, but what's your chemical compound called?
You'd ask. I don't remember anymore.
I don't. I'm sorry. I'm sorry
Double-
for doing that to you.
I translated it into Latin, but comes out to be Devil's Tears. It's in my third book of the Black Irish series.
Gotcha.
Okay.
I'm
The
sorry.
Troubles.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No worries. It's been a while.
I
It's
did.
been years. So if the FBI is looking for me, they're not now.
They're like, that's not a real chemical compound.
They're like,
Never mind.
what is this woman thinking? What is going on in her life?
It doesn't exist, but watch her. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Funny. Well, do we want to hear from
Oh.
Tricia? We don't have any
Yeah,
questions
Tricia.
except the ones that we had,
Okay.
that we came up with,
Yeah.
and so the ones that we had. So, if you do have
Yeah.
questions for our authors, post them in the comments while Tricia's reading, and we will get to them after.
So, Tricia, do you need to set anything up, or are you starting directly from chapter 1?
Not quite chapter 1, but very close into it. So in the book, the heroine has actually found him and is persuaded him to come back. And it's pretty much right after that is when it happens. So it's not right at the beginning, but it's very, very close. So, all right. So I can read what I'm doing. It used to be an old grocery store from days long past. At least that's what Rhett thought it once was. It was 2 stories and made of faded brick. A large picture window was next to a recessed door. If memory served Rhett correctly, stacks of canned goods used to be displayed in the window for anyone who passed by to see. Now the back end of a black leather couch was there. The sill was lined with jar candles filled with white wax. Rhett unfolded the front seat of the environmentally friendly compact car, then reached into the shallow back seat for his bag. Some things never changed. Morgan was still a tree hugger. Being so allowed her to get a tiny car that accommodated her petite stature. It didn't work so well for tall, muscular Rhett. He followed as she sorted through a ring of keys for the right one. They climbed the few steps to the old-fashioned glass door. A flower was embossed onto the glass with the words Thistle Tattoo above it. Morgan jammed a key into the lock and twisted. Just inside was a long, tall, black painted counter. In fact, most of the interior was painted black with accents of lavender. There were 2 additional couches, along with the one in front of the window. Along the back brick wall were a couple of tattoo chairs and tables. Metal carts normally seen in automotive garages were tucked in between the chairs. Tubes and cords snaked around the equipment. Candles were perched everywhere. The entire room was black, chrome, and dusty brick. It was overwhelmingly masculine with an intimate touch of the feminine odor. It took Rhett's breath away. Morgan gestured to the desk. So this is yours. She scuttled behind it and crouched down, disappearing from sight. And here is where we'll keep your contraband. He strode to her to find her kneeling in front of an open safe. She snapped her fingers, then opened her palm. Gimme. Rhett huffed as he pulled the gun from his jeans and laid it in her hand. She tucked it inside next to a couple of bank bags, then slammed it closed. Once she spun the lock to secure it, she stood up straight. So, thistle tattoo? Rhett questioned. Morgan shrugged. It's a resilient little flower. You have to be resilient to be a small town bookworm in the Big Apple and survive. That, and the town is named Thistle River. That too. She picked up a lighter, then wove a path around the shop. One by one, she lit the candles. He watched her, unable to tear his gaze away. Yeah, he was pissed she interfered with his life. But for the first time in a really long time, somebody actually actively gave a crap about him. What made you start tattooing? He asked. She glanced back at him, tossing her purple hair off her shoulder. I got my art degree, which is a big mistake because there is little to no work for an artist. I waited tables while I looked for a real job. I answered an ad for an artist, not realizing it was a tattoo parlor. The owner liked what I could do. He got me started in the trade, and I worked beside him until just a couple of weeks ago when I moved here. The door slammed open with a deafening bang. A large bald man who filled the doorway stormed inside. Rhett's heartbeat filled his ears as every hair stood on end. His nerves quaked, leaving him trembling. He didn't hear a word being said over the terror coursing through him. Morgan's voice cut through the din. Enough. Rhett turned his head slightly as he tried to get a hold on himself. Morgan's hands were gripped to her hips as she snarled at the intruder. The guy looked genuinely taken aback by the small woman. We do not shout in my establishment, she demanded. If you feel the need to raise your voice, you can see yourself outside. You said you'd be open at 4, the man accused. Things came up, meathead. I had important matters to take care of. I won't short you any time. You're my only appointment today. I can take my business elsewhere, meathead threatened. Go ahead, but I can guarantee you won't get the quality you want with old man Stevens. Rhett didn't realize Morgan had even moved until she touched his arm. He jolted, then barked at her. What are you doing? Hey, watch it, meathead warned him protectively. Morgan raised a finger at the man to calm him. Stop. She turned her attention back to Rhett. Are you okay? Rhett's head lowered. Shame and embarrassment flooded him. I don't think so. She wrapped an arm around him and nudged him towards the sofas. You should sit here and rest. I'll get you a cup of tea. You can catch a nap, watch television, read a book, whatever you want. They shuffled together towards the caramel-stained wood floor until they reached the waiting area. Rhett slumped into a cushion. His nerves still buzzed with electricity, even though his mind had cleared. Morgan disappeared through a doorway, leaving Rhett with the intimidating meathead. The big man scowled at him. Sorry about all that. Rhett tried to shake his head. It did help a little. Don't mention it. How do you know Morgan? We were friends in high school. Rhett just got back from serving in Afghanistan. Morgan hurried back into the shop, a delicate teacup and saucer cradled in her hands. She didn't stop until she set them both among the magazines laid out on the coffee table. She beamed at Rhett. She really was getting into this caretaker thing with him. Man, really sorry for being a jerk. Thanks for all you've done. Meathead stretched his hand out to Rhett. Name's Bob. Friends call me Meathead. Why do they call you Meathead? Rhett asked weakly. Because he pulls meathead stuff like that incident earlier all the time. Morgan grinned at him, then motioned to the chairs. Take a seat. Where did you want this again? On my shoulder, Meathead answered. Where exactly on your shoulder? There isn't much real estate left. You can cover part of the skull. Thanks for that. Now I have to add one while making sure the other one doesn't look like crap afterwards. Meathead looked sheepish as he shrugged at her. She rolled her eyes as he nearly ran for the seat. She sat next to Rhett. After a moment, she brushed a lock of hair from his forehead. Seriously, are you okay? She pressed, her thumb still idly rubbing his brow. Morgan, it's not going to get any better, Rhett answered. Whatever. Meathead isn't the only short-tempered client I have. I know how to handle myself. I have for years. But I don't want to lash out at you. You've done nothing to deserve it. She smiled at him. It was more beautiful than the sunrise. I brought you here. In doing so, I signed on for this. Good, bad, ugly, it doesn't matter. I can't have the alternative. I want you here until you're old and gray. Okay? He couldn't answer. He didn't have the faith she did. Her gaze didn't break from his. Out of the corner of his eye, he noticed her cheeks grow pink. What? He cried. She bit her lower lip. I missed your blue eyes. I've never met anyone with prettier eyes. Morgan, Meathead called. She rolled her eyes again. She pressed a quick kiss to Rhett's forehead and stood. It's like dealing with toddlers, I swear. She strode across the shop to the waiting client, then settled on the stool beside him. Rhett sat stone still, afraid to move a muscle. He was calming down, but it didn't subside the guilt. Morgan had gotten her life together. Her shop was as nearly as beautiful as she was. She didn't deserve a nutcase like him. Meathead preened, shirtless, from the seat like a rotund king. It was clear he was out of his mind excited about this ink. Morgan tugged a cart to her, then rapidly opened one drawer after the other. Out came the tiny jars of ink, gloves, pads, tape, and gauze. She bit her lip as she organized her items. After one last glance, she pulled a black latex glove on each hand and turned back to her customer. She plucked the needle from where it was hung on the cart. She dipped it in the ink. A faint buzz filled the room moments before she hovered over Meathead's shoulder and began. Rhett let go a long, steady breath as he took in the woman before him. She barely came up to his chest. Her ripped-up jeans hung off her hips. Black combat boots peeked from beneath the cuffs. A round swell of black satin escaped beneath her cropped t-shirt, adorned with images of puppies. Between the bottom of her shirt and the waistband was creamy white skin adorned with patterns of ink. Her full ruby lips pursed as she concentrated on her work. Women with tattoos had never turned him on before. The way Morgan wore them stirred a fire he hadn't felt in a long time. Morgan and Meathead softly bantered as she worked. She had no qualms about cussing along with him. They spoke of mutual friends, ones that by first impression seemed to be as dangerous as Meathead was. Never in Rhett's wildest dreams did he imagine the quiet, shy wallflower who helped him with his homework, who kept him eligible to play football and wrestle, the one he had told his secrets to, would turn into this lavender-haired, tattooed hellraiser.
I love it. Dylan, sorry.
Sorry, I was trying to unmute myself.
I muted her and she muted her. Yeah. My sister-in-law is a tattoo artist, so the entire time in like visioning her like tattooing. Yeah. That's cool. So do you did you get tattoos? Sorry. I'm sorry, Dylan.
That's okay. I was just gonna say I love how it was almost like, flipped from what you typically would see, like the protective hero, and all that. And she's like this fierce, super protective one, and he was so vulnerable in that scene. So I really liked that kind of the way that swapped out. So that was all.
Yep. No, I have two. I have a rose from college on my ankle, and then maybe about 8 years ago, I got a phoenix over the middle of my back.
Oh, I think that's a question, Dylan. You want to pop it up?
I know.
Sorry.
I was like, you're like working ahead, Dawn.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, Jennifer actually asked that question. Do any of you have any tattoos, and are they book related? So does the phoenix have anything to do with any of your books, or just a phoenix? I mean,
no, it was inspired by an illness that I have, a disorder that I had. I had to have two lumbar punctures, and the one first one went horribly bad. So the idea is the phoenix is there to remind me never to get in the position I need to have one of those ever again. So, yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Yikes!
But
that sounds.
But I want a book related one soon. So,
what would you get? Do you think?
Right now, the one that I've been thinking about is one of the final quotes from Dumbledore from the Harry Potter series about words are the most. What is that quote? Like the most powerful. What is it? Now I forgot it, but about words being the most powerful magic.
Okay.
And I can't remember exactly what it is, but yeah, I thought about that one.
Very cool. How about you, Debbie? Any tattoos?
No tattoos, not yet.
If you were going to get a book-related tattoo, what do you think it would be?
I was
You
going to get
you
one
could
that
just
just
get
says
paw
right.
prints.
I wanted to get
Right?
one that said right a while back, and I hadn't done it yet. So
Oh, I love that
Yeah.
though. Then you just
Like
be
you
like, okay, I'm having a bad day. I'm just
right.
like drinking, I'm just like eating chocolate and watching movies. And then you look like on your wrist and it says
that's where I was
right.
going to do it on my
Yeah.
wrist. This is that
Mine-
reminder.
Yep.
And you're like, dang it. Okay, I'll go write my books. I
I
love
feel
that.
like that would come with a lot of shame. Like if you're
Maybe if
not
I
writing,
didn't do
you
it,
know?
I don't know.
'Cause, yeah, it's like, right. Oh,
Ah, shoot, that's
Fine.
what I should be doing. That's kind of what I
exactly.
need. I kind of need that like diet. I'm like, dang it. Okay, fine. I'll put this cake down. Yeah.
Better yet, just have it say, put down the cake.
Put down the cake. Leave the ice cream alone. It would be a whole wrist. I mean, a whole like arm
You'd have a
full
sleeve.
of
Don't touch
instructions.
potato chips, ice cream. Yeah, I'm sorry. All right.
Don't
moving
Drink
on.
ever
more
add.
water.
Chocolate.
I love it though, right? It's perfect. That's cute. I like that.
Do you have tattoos, Dawn?
I do.
And are any
I ha-
book related?
yes. Yep. So I have a couple tattoos. I was a sailor. I'm just gonna preface this with that. I was a sailor. So was my husband. I have two dolphins kissing on my back. And in the middle of the is the Chinese symbol for love. Don't worry, I double checked that that was actually what it was. And then that was my very first tattoo. My second one was roses and thorns around my left ankle. That's because I'm tough and also sweet and like nice at the same time. That's my favorite one. Um, then I have like a tramp stamp, like shh. It's my
Saying
birthstone.
this out
It's
here
my
all over the
birthstone.
internet, but shh, don't tell anyone.
Don't tell anybody. It's hearts with my birthstone, and then but my book related one is on my right leg, and it's a bunch of flowers that goes down to an old school book, and it's got a quill, and it's writing my husband's name. I know, don't judge me. So it's writing my husband's name on the book, and below it it says, I have loved none but you. And my husband also has a book tattoo on his chest. It says, I am half agony, half hope. And so that is the quote to my favorite Jane Austen book.
Mhm.
It's when Captain Wentworth was writing his note to Jane. Jane? I think her name was Jane. Can't remember now. I mean, that's awful of me, but I'm 3 White Claws in. So, yes. So, yes. I don't think it's Jane though, but I'm wrong on that. But um yes, it's a letter from Captain Wentworth of my favorite Jane Austen book. He took
And
half the quote. I took
Mhm.
half of the quote, and we just put it on ourselves.
Nice.
Yes.
I didn't know
What
Anne
about
you were.
you?
Elliot. That's who it is.
Is what?
Anne Elliot.
Anne, that's it. Anne, thank you.
Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you.
I was gonna say I didn't
Yeah.
realize we had to like set aside like 15 minutes to go through your tattoo
My
inventory.
tattoos. I'm a sailor. You should know this. You should
I'm
know this.
teasing.
Yeah. Some of these I
I
got when I was drinking, some I didn't. Let's just leave it at that. What about you,
I have
Dylan?
one, just one.
Oh,
Yep.
What
is
is
it
it?
book related?
It's just an arrow, and it looks weird if you do this because it twists. But when I do this, it's straight, so that makes me happy. But no, I've talked about getting like a book related something. I'm not sure what, but I feel like it's a commitment. So, so I need to be sure that I picked the right thing before
Yeah.
I decide. Oh, Jennifer has 8.
Yeah.
So, oh, a dolphin on your
She's
toe. That sounds super painful.
yeah.
I've heard that like feet and the tops of your
Yeah.
feet and everything. Yeah, if I get another one, I'll probably have to get it on the fattest part of my body just so that there's like all that cushion. Because I know people have gotten them like over the ribs and stuff. That just sounds
Mhm.
really painful.
the feet does hurt, and you just reminded me I have one more.
Okay.
Like I mentioned, my sister-in-law is a tattoo artist.
Mhm.
So the last time she was here, she gave me a dandelion with 4 seeds flying away,
Oh, nice.
because the dandelion represents military children. So military
Okay.
children are called dandelions because they can blow in the wind, settle wherever
Mhm.
they are, and grow roots. And
Nice.
so I had her do that with the 4 seeds for my 4 children. So
Mhm. Very nice.
that's my
Love it.
last one. I forgot about it.
Well, it's recent, right?
It's recent. Yeah.
All right. Jennifer had another question. Where does your inspiration come from? And I would say Tricia or Debbie, whoever feels moved to answer first. Jump in there.
You can go.
And both of us at once.
I know. Don't everyone talk at once. How about it, Tricia? What do you think?
A lot of the things I write come from music. So I'll listen to music and like a song will stick and I can like envision it happening in a book or to my characters, and then it's like put it down. So a lot of it comes from music.
Do you
What
listen to
kind of
music when you
music?
write then?
I'm sorry?
Do you listen to music while you're writing then? Do you have like a playlist or a soundtrack for your books that you make?
If I write, it'd be like to jazz, so nothing actual
Okay.
words, but a lot of times, unless I'm writing that specific scene, and then I'll play that song over and over again till it's done.
Mhm.
30 Seconds to Mars, alternative, grunge, hard rock, heavy metal, that's usually where it comes from.
Nice. I can see that because you do like boxing books.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you have to have that like, ooh, boxing music in there. Yeah.
Yeah. I just finished, last year, I finished what's technically the last book of my Hollow Brothers series. And the 30 Seconds to Mars song Escape, which is very tiny, is actually coming to the climax point, them walking into the climax point and finding out that there was a vision that ultimately says they're all going to die. So anyway.
Not a good
So,
situation to be in.
No.
so when you write this, do you hear like, even if you're not, if you read, okay, let me rephrase this. If you're rereading or you're editing your book, right, and you
Mhm.
get to that scene, do you hear this da-da-da like music in your head? Like, oh, I can't change this because this music's
Yep.
playing in my head, and then you don't change it.
Yep.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I've been there.
Has to
Good.
fit the song.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting how, I don't know, we've talked to so many different authors, and it's just, I mean, we all have our own little things, you
Yeah.
know. It's yeah. Some people, it's like, oh my gosh, no, I could never listen to music, or I don't want to listen to any music. And other people are like, I can't write unless I have music playing. And
Mhm.
I think music, and then, well, I guess a lot of the other senses, because some people, you know, it's like they have a certain candle that they have to have lit and smell while they're
Or
writing. And
snacks. We've had a
yep,
couple people
yep,
with snacks that they eat while
yep.
they're
It's interesting. How about you, Debbie?
Okay.
Where does your inspiration come
Music-wise,
from?
I am one that I can't have words or I get distracted. So like while I'm writing, I have to have like, I don't know, I have just a variety of, you know, classical or just whatever, just calm music. But I do like music on when I write, but yeah, that doesn't work. But inspiration to that question, I feel like I get inspired every day, whether it's a title or a character or a street or a location, those kind of things. But then sometimes in like for like a true story, a lot of times it's a more emotional trigger. Um, like my most recent story that I was writing came from a little heavier. My mom is kind of, I know a lot of friends losing their mom. And so I had this idea to kind of work that into a story. So like there's more emotional things like that really set me into like, oh, I have to write this, or different things like that, but little things all the time. And I started carrying like a notebook, just write little ideas. But
That's a really good idea. I always think like, oh, I'll remember that later. Or you
Yeah.
know, when you're like on the verge of falling asleep and then all of a sudden it's like something clicks and it's like, oh, that's exactly what that scene needs. And it's like, I'll remember that when I wake up.
In the
Yeah, like,
morning.
no.
So I've heard of people actually keeping notebooks by their bed. Do you guys keep notebooks by your bed? In case you get that. You don't, Dylan.
No, but I should.
No.
I mean,
I clearly
sure, I
by
should.
that what you just said. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. No, one time I had a dream, and in my dream, I actually, in my dream, person said, "This would be a really good book. Make sure you write this down in the morning." Like in my dream, I thought this is going to be the most amazing book. And then the next day I woke up and I actually remembered the dream. And I thought, that's a horrible idea for a book. Like Dream Me is awful because Dream Me has no idea what would actually be a good book. So I did not.
I've had good and bad ideas in dreams, but it is
Yeah.
funny. Like you're like, wow. And you wake up like, oh, that's so dumb.
Yeah. Yes.
I woke up one day, the first line of my book, Sweet Tea and Second Chances, was in my head. And like I woke up and that was it. And I was like, okay, I gotta write this book. And it stayed the same.
Oh, fun.
But I can't say it on here because there's
okay.
a word in it that, yeah.
Dylan, you read my mind because I was going to be like, give us that.
I know.
Line,
you were going to challenge me, weren't you, Dawn?
I was.
Dawn has been on this kick of issuing challenges for the past couple episodes that we've done. So I'm surprised. We've made it, 56 minutes in, Dawn, and you have not issued a single challenge yet.
It hasn't come up. But I was about to when Dylan said, you're not challenging me.
Well, we don't have time for a challenge, Dawn. We've got a question from Deanna.
Okay.
And kind of goes back to, I think she had posted this before we started talking about snacks and stuff, but do you have a certain snack or drink that you always have near when you are writing?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Typically my water. I used to have coffee. I used to drink coffee till midnight.
Oh my gosh.
Did not bother me, but it was my go-to. And it's water now.
Yeah.
Water for me too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes a candle. I don't usually, if I have snacks in here, I'm going to eat all the snacks. So usually I get up and go to the kitchen.
Do you have like that certain snack where it's like, okay, I'm literally like up against a deadline and I got to get through this. And I mean, I'm going to, like reward myself, or this is my kind of motivational snack. What would that be?
Varies.
Like a filling snack for me when I don't have time to eat would be like, I don't know, like Triscuits and hummus or something that's kind of like you can get kind of full off of it.
Mm-hmm.
A bite or pop. I love popcorn. That's my.
I do love popcorn. Yeah, I rely on peanut butter M&Ms when I get into a bind and I'm up against a deadline and it's not good, which I don't do that to myself very often, but yep. I will just sit there and shovel down peanut butter M&Ms and try to keep going. I think the sugar high is what gets me, carries me through. I don't know. What about you, Dawn? Any snack?
Oh, no. I mean, I think mostly it's when I'm writing, it's in the morning. So it's coffee. Yeah. But other than that, I'm just like, I have to take a break. I need to go eat lunch. And then it's a crappy salad because I can't make salads as good as like restaurants and stuff make them for me. So a crappy salad or
it sounds so appetizing.
Coffee. Crappy salad or coffee for me.
All right. And then Deanna was like totally reading our minds before she was pre-reading our minds.
She was.
Yeah. Last question before we wrap things up. And I think you have probably already answered this, but Tricia, you said jazz would be your music of choice. And Debbie, you said classical.
I do like, as long as it's acoustic, like I don't want the voices because then I'll start listening to that instead of what I'm writing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
how about you, Dawn?
I make a playlist, like Hard to Love, clearly by the fact that I met him and got his autograph. I listened to the song Hard to Love over and over again by Lee Brice over and over again while I wrote that book. Um, and yeah, it depends on the book. I kind of make a playlist to the feel of the book and then just listen to it.
Mm-hmm. See, I used to do that a lot early on because a lot of my, like with you, Tricia, like you hear a song and then you kind of like the whole story comes to you and you're like, oh my gosh, this song, is like all about this. This is the book that, should be from this, 2-minute and 30-second song. Like I have a whole novel in my head now. But yeah, I don't mind the words in the music when if I make a playlist for a book, because I feel like, they just disappear after a while. And I don't hear the words, like maybe the first time I'm listening to it. But yeah, I think music gets us in a different mood. I feel like, it just, I read that somewhere early on, like somebody was saying they made a playlist for every book and then they would just listen to it every time they were writing. But then they would also listen to it, like if they were in the car driving, kids to school or, running errands or something like that, because it kept their head like in the book subconsciously kind of. I was like, that sounds smart. So
that does sound smart.
I know.
Yeah.
So I've done that a couple times and I feel like it really did help. Like on the longer books. But yeah, if I'm writing like one of the steamy shorts, then I haven't made playlists for those. But yeah, who was it that we were talking to? Was it last time or the time before that it was Jenny, right? Jenny Martz that said she listens to like ragtime or something because it goes fast and then she writes faster. Was it Jenny?
Oh yeah.
Else? Now I can't remember.
It sounds like a
We're
Jenny
doing that.
comment.
It's funny what different, what people will do or what they'll try. Or listening to like that Brain FM that's supposed to be, like that, hit that wavelength that's supposed to make you just more, I don't know, productive. So, oh well. Well, that was it. That's all we have for tonight, Dawn, and we are out of time anyways. So
we are out of time. So, ladies, can you just tell us one more time what you guys are giving away and what they need to do to get to enter your? And if you don't know what they need to do, it's just say go to the page and look and read it.
I was gonna say it's all on the Romance Happy Hour Facebook page.
All in the romance, yeah.
Right. I am giving away a signed paperback copy of the first book of my Gods of DC series, which is called Bloodlust, and it does have an MMA fighter in it. And it's if you can, like my Facebook author page, or I have a Google Doc for a newsletter, and as soon as I get my newsletter set up, I will ship them out.
Yes.
Okay, that's awesome. I am giving away my most recent release, the 7th book in the Rescue Me series called You're My Home, a signed copy of that. And if you can, follow me on Amazon. And you can message me on Facebook or whatever is on Romance Happy Hour.
Yes. Yep. It's on the Romance Happy Hour post.
Yep.
Stop by, get it done. There's links on the post. And yeah. Ladies, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
It was so good to see you both.
Yeah,
it was good to see you too.
Yes. Thank you so much. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah. Thank you for being with us.
All right.
And we will be back in 2 weeks for another episode. Yep.
Wait, Dylan, what's that date? What's that date? Sorry. I gotta see.
We can check it later, Dawn.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I was freaking out because I'm going to do the Spartan race. I'm like, oh crap, am I leaving? Like, no, we're good. We're good.
Okay.
So 2 weeks.
You can take us with you.
Yeah.
You can talk to us while you're
on the road
walking
in Montana. Like,
while you're
hey,
walking
here's
up
the
the hill.
bison. Yeah. Yeah. So, no, we're good though. We're good. So,
all right.
2 weeks on the 23rd, it looks like. So,
yep.
We'll see you then.
We'll see you then. All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.